So there's less tight tie-ups and more long-range tie-ups from this kind.
It's Monday night and we're in Pro Muay. Normal stance is this way around.
No, not for you.
Not for me, it's not. It's this way around. I was reading that for wrestlers, this is the normal stance.
Yeah, often.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
No, freak you out.
What is the logic? For a boxer, as a left-hander, I stand with my power hand behind. Right-handers stand with the power hand here, and the same for MMA. Why would this be the norm for a wrestler?
For exactly the same reason that they want their more powerful hand in the lead position, right? So if you're wrestling, what you're often doing is tying up with this front hand from here, right? So to have then your favourite hand at the back, then your weaker hand is doing most of the natural tie-ups and hooking in.
So if I was a wrestler, I would want to stand the opposite way around to what I normally do.
Correct, yeah.
That's so weird. And does that mess people up? There's no rules about how you need to stand?
We're fortunate in this country that we don't have too many hardcore wrestlers coming in, because there's not much of a base in wrestling in the UK naturally, right? So mostly we can get people right from the start just to adapt, and but it's like the other way around. What you usually end up seeing is that people often stick on their normal fighting stance, but tie up a lot off the rear hand. So you'll see them then coming in and tying up from the rear side, which wrestlers still do all the time as well, right? But it just means that you'll see more frequently that they'll tie up from that rear hand and rear side from there, so they've still got their
because we drill
standard fighting stance from there. But you then do get other people that are so, especially American fighters, that are so favoured of their wrestling stance that they'll just stick with their wrestling stance and end up being southpaw, even though they're not.
Is Daniel Cormier southpaw? Do you know?
Oh, that's a great question. Jeez.
Because he's a wrestler, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm trying to picture him. He's give up.
I wonder what he jabs with. We'll see. And what about judoka? People that come from a judo background, is it similar?
No, they I'm not an expert on it, but they don't tend to have a favoured stance quite so much. Because there's not quite so much shooting in off the legs and power moves from the base going on from there. And often when they're gripping, they're starting to, they can switch stance fairly intermittently. It's a longer range piece from here, so there's less tight tie-ups and more long-range tie-ups from this kind of position, so you can end up switching stance much more easily than you can if you're in a tight grip from that position. But I don't know I'm not expert enough to.
Ronda Rousey, is she judo background, right?
Yeah.
Every fighting style, the stance is kind of tweaked due to the aim of that game. So wrestlers are out here, boxers can afford to be nice and long, Thai boxers a bit more squared. I guess the ideal stance in MMA is that happy medium of everything, but it will change depending on where the fight goes.
I think there's a few pieces going on with the stance. I mean, the core principles are still going to be the same. You want to have stability and mobility, right? So you want to find the right base between having enough ability to move around and be dynamic with the feet without coming to a position where you're too destabilised all the time. So you're trying to keep a nice, solid and fast moving base from there. You can't go as low as a wrestler, because then you're giving up too much of an advantage in terms of striking positions, but you definitely can lower yourself a little bit in the stance without detracting from your striking too much, so a little bit more flex through the knees than perhaps you might be if you were just worrying about only striking.
And you say a lot about don't go too far into the back foot.
So one of the things that I don't like people doing is sitting down on that back heel too much from there, so I try and encourage people to be off that back heel as often as possible.
From a boxing point of view, if you're more on the back foot, you can make distance with the front foot and go back to it, but I guess it's got disadvantages.
So again, right, when you start introducing wrestling, you can't afford to be too much like having your hips in a back position like this, but it's a fantastic thing that I use all the time. I sit down on that heel all the time, but I don't hang out. All right, so what I do is I'll be off of that heel, striking from this position, and then when I want to, especially on kicking, for example, off the lead leg, I'll sit down then on that back heel to bring that lead leg up from there, or I might sit there just to sway. So if you're throwing a punch or whatever, I might just sway back onto that rear heel temporarily and then come back off of it again from there. So I do quite a lot of swaying down with my hips shifting around from front to the rear. But that I consider like a contingency plan. Yeah. So if you punch and I sway back and then you punch again, then I have to be able to move from there. Whereas if I'm already on the back heel and then I sway back and then I'm too far over my hips from that position. And I always talk to people about the classic is Anderson Silva getting knocked out by Weidman that first time. Right? He got too far over his hips, right? So he dodges the first one and he's all good from there, but then he's just completely got nowhere left to go. And he doesn't move his feet. Gets clipped from there. But then there are some other things, like definitely here, lead leg is way more vulnerable than it would be in boxing. You know, so if you were boxing, you could get away with having this lead leg turn slightly differently and in and out fast from here, because no one's going after that leg in terms of single legs, and no one's going after it in terms of leg kicks from there. So you have to be a little bit more cautious, and then you can't be as square as you would if you were Thai boxing from here, because you can't just be checking all the time and lifting that leg up all the time. Again,
they're more square on, aren't they?
Rest and threat, and some of that is. It's weird. I've often questioned myself why they come, because I don't consider it to be a particular advantage in terms of striking. Like, I prefer prioritising fast feet and footwork and having more of an angle and more of a shape in that respect. I think some of that just comes down to a little bit of Thai boxing culture, which is a little bit more come on, let's stand and trade.
There's a rhythm and they play the drums as well.
And we'll get into it and we'll see who drops, and we've got to enter, a certain amount of it's entertainment. The crowd's here to be entertained. They don't want to see someone dancing around. So I think there's a lot of inherent culture in Thai boxing, which is, come on, let's not mess around. Let's just stand here and trade some punches and see who drops. But again, it's one of the reasons why I think then from a MMA perspective, I would favour the mobility side of things as well. I want you moving all the time, because I don't want you stationary to be allowing a person to close the distance on you or change the range into a wrestling range. For now, I want you fast moving continuously. Just in general, in terms of defensive duties, I say, look, your first simplest line of defence is don't be where the person thought you were going to be when they started launching the attack. So it doesn't matter what it is, whether you were trying to throw a hook on me or a straight shot on me or a kick on me or a double leg on me or anything else. My job is to see, okay, when I see you twitch, I'm going to be somewhere else. Right? So when you throw a punch or when you throw a shot, I'm just going to be somewhere else. Right? And then it puts a lot less pressure on me to get it right. Right? So I don't have to say, well, if they jab, I'm going this way. If they double leg, I'm going this way. If they head kick, I'm going, and all that stuff. You can just go, look, I'm just going to be somewhere else when they planned it to where it was, because then they start planning it with me there, and then even if I'm a few inches that way, they have to adjust or they come out of shape or something.
When Muhammad Ali did all the dodging and he misses the punches by a couple of inches, I always wonder, was he dodging the punch or was he just moving anyway? And he was an elusive target.
So
either way, it works.
No, it does, and I think there's different methods of you going after head movement, right? So I think you both can be correct, right? So I think there can be instances where you are seeing a shot and slipping it, right? And I think there are other instances where you're just constantly on the move and making yourself difficult to hit, and both are very valid tactics, right? You don't have to pick, you don't have to say, well, it must have been one or the other. You can literally be on the move, make yourself difficult to hit, and then you see a shot come in, and then as the shot comes, then you get more out of the way. This is a bit like momentum on pushing a car, right? The car's not very easy to get started, but once it gets started, you can keep it rolling. Same with your head movements. If your head movements constantly rolling, then as a punch comes, it's easy for me to keep going from there. But if I'm dead static like this, and then a punch comes, then it takes me some energy to start getting out of the way.
Thank you very much, as always. Appreciate it.
You got me on a roll.